AI is not a tool. AI will make us more human.
Okay.
But we need to use it in the right way.
You are able to see the market in a very larger lens, and you understand how the market is evolving and what kind of qualities and attributes you need in your team.
We move from a world of IQ to EQ to AQ, adaptability quotient. The world is changing so fast. A lot of jobs that we know today will be gone, but they will create new jobs. Next generation, we need to be incredibly adaptable. In the 1990s, if I'm correct, I think the attention span was about 20 minutes. 2000, I think that went down to 8 minutes. Do you know what the attention span is today?
5 seconds?
It's 8 seconds.
Okay.
For alphas today, it's about 3 seconds. But with an attention span of 3 seconds every single time, where are we going?
Today's guest is someone who has a global experience in the field of marketing with his wide range of experience in terms of working with banking, finance, and different types of companies. I have listened to his speech and I was really admired about the kind of perspectives that he has given. That's one of the reasons I wanted to invite Mr. George on this podcast. Welcome to the show, George.
No, thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure.
You are leading one of the fastest growing and one of the largest banking company in the Middle East, I would say, or even in the globe. They are in the top 150 is what somewhere I read about it. Mashreq Bank. In fact, I'm a user of Mashreq Bank.
Okay.
I'll ask a bit about Mashreq Bank probably way forward. Because our audience are mostly marketers, entrepreneurs, and people who are aspiring to build something and grow. So that's why my podcast name is Dare to Begin. It's your starting journey, right? Like you have to start to achieve something big.
Yep.
So that's why that's the motto of our podcast. But today, I would want to hear from you about your experience of decades of experience in across the continents. Good. So I would like to hear about you from yourself. Yeah.
So I've been in the business of two things, basically of transformation and delivering client experiences. Because at the end of the day, what we do as marketing people is to deliver better client experiences and value. So I have a few decades behind me of marketing. I've done predominantly into two industries. The first one was telecom, and the second one is financial services. So I've gone through transformation of both industries. So at the beginning of pretty much the internet and trying to find what are the best models, the best monetization models, the best content and things like that. So going through the full transformation, and I've done this with the incumbent, with Orange back in the days, and then also with the challenger. I was with Skype and Skype for Business specifically for a few years. So it was quite interesting. And then I moved to financial services, a long stint in Visa, where I've done pretty much all the roles from strategy to product to marketing and sales. And so I've been in financial services for quite some time now, and I've gone through the full transformation into today where we will talk about fintech and new digital propositions, new payment methods, and so on. And now in corporate banking.
Consistently mentioned about a small area of let's say even a small population, but they have varieties of opportunities to choose from. That also puts the companies in a place where they have to give the best product at the best pricing, and it's very competitive. And that's one of the, not just in any one particular sector, across the sectors the competition is there, and that's one of the reasons again. The quality and the kind of the pricing and everything is very competitive for a lot of different kind of products. So I'll tell about my personal experience, because when I came here in 2024, I was figuring out the way how do I set up business, because I had come here and I wanted to explore this place on my own. I didn't go for any consulting. I just came in here and met a lot of people, and I set up a business, and then when it comes to again opening a bank account, there were multiple different procedures were there. It was, in fact, a lot of people who suggested me, or a lot of my friends and family were said it's really complicated. You have to have a consultant. They kind of created a fear in terms of starting it. But believe me, when I went to Mashreq. So that was I mean, I of course inquired a lot of different brands. But what I really liked about Mashreq is that I went to the bank. They said, you don't have to come to the bank. You do everything online. Everything. When I say everything, end to end. So it's not just about a personal account bank setup, but even the business bank setting up of your business bank account was so easy because they insist not to visit any physical location. But of course, a lot of the companies are trying to digitize things. But I am very fascinated about Mashreq's digital infrastructure at this point. So do you want to tell a bit about how that is?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so Mashreq is one of the oldest bank here. We actually, Mashreq was created before the UAE, before the UAE became the UAE. But core to its DNA has always been innovation and customer value. And I think really the digitization is very much digital. I think DNA is very much there because we've been looking at creating the best customer experiences, whether it's on retail, on wholesale. My area is more on the wholesale side of the bank, but there's a lot of work that is being done on digitizing those processes and identifying the friction points where customers would basically have difficulties of doing X, Y, and Z. So I think what is really important is putting the customer at the center of everything and then understanding, okay, how do I deliver a full end-to-end proposition that actually delivers value in the most efficient way and also the most cost efficient way. So we don't have branches anymore. We have very few left, for specific purposes, and everything is done digitally. So from a retail perspective, it's almost and everything is done digitally, which works phenomenally well. On the wholesale side, so corporate banking side, most of the things are being done now digitally. We're probably, I think we were the first bank to introduce face recognition for instead of having a wet signature for opening a corporate account. So I think, when you think about, authenticating yourself, at least replacing the wet signature with your face, which is quite an advancement. So for us, digitization is really around customer and customer value, customer experience. And we are looking at ways to amplify that, and making sure that this always drive that level of efficiency that we're looking for.
So, when it comes to your experience, let's say now you are. You said that you have been working across continents. Can you tell a little bit of what is so unique about the different cities where you have headed? Because what I truly believe is every market has its own unique, identity, and the customers are very different. But there are certain businesses which are able to win across markets, like let's say a lot of tech products, let's say a lot of us use across continents and they customize, but a lot of entrepreneurs right now, including people from India or Pakistan or like Asian countries, they're aspiring to go global. So I would like to hear about your global experience, like how different markets look at things.
So look, my global experience ranged from working in Europe, the Americas, the States, South America and Brazil, to Japan, to China, to Korea. So quite a few, obviously very, very different markets. I think here the customers here are very demanding on value. I think when you live here, you become a bit spoiled because the level of value and quality you get is very high. And service level also is very high. So expectations are already quite high. So you need to deliver that at a very high standards and consistently. And this is the consistent way is where is very crucial, because by having so much to offer and so many alternatives, the level of loyalty you can create with your customers and how fragmented all of these segments are is very critical. Because if you're not the most loved brand for that category and you're not part of their life experience or their life journey, then the job is very hard for you to win that customer or to retain that customer. So I think all of us here, any businesses here, that understand that well really focus on this, and it's an everyday job. You never take for granted a customer, because then it's not because they're with you one day that will be there the next day. So I think Dubai and the UAE is very much like that. So making sure that there's so much to offer, but you need to win it. You need to win it, and you need to also sustain the level of pace. Because
consistently offering the good work,
which is hard, because if you offer something, you raise the really good, you raise the bar for the next thing, and then the customers are very demanding, and rightly so. But where does it end in a market that relatively small compared to the other markets? So that's what makes it fascinating here, and the pace is relentless. It goes very fast, and I've been in fast environments, but this is very fast. Compared to other markets, I think you would have interesting complexities in other markets. If you think about banking in Japan, it's actually quite old-fashioned. It's still very cash-based. You still have banking hours. I remember when I was living in Japan, you had banking hours for the ATM. So ATM would be closed after 7 p.m. So where do you get cash? Or where do you pay? I remember also you were not able to pay certain things with cards. You go to Germany, and still now they prefer cash. They prefer to so they don't accept card payments. So US, huge infrastructure, but very big, and some things that are not really well established. And you go to other markets where there's still a population of underbanked or underserved, and actually across even more developed countries is still there. So I think each market provides its own characteristics. I think the challenge here is that you're in an environment that is always on the move, always looking for better value, always where you need to differentiate, and you need to create brand love. And doing all of these things at the same time is incredibly challenging, and specifically at the pace that is required.
I've been looking at your LinkedIn, and I was trying to understand your different kinds of experience. You have worked with Visa, you have worked with Skype in the past.
Yep.
Entirely, some of the top global companies you have worked with, but you have been a consistently, people have been mentioning you about a most approachable, calm and human-centric leader you are. So this is what a couple of people, your colleagues have mentioned about you. So what do you think, what is the human role right now? Because you mentioned that in banking, the number of people you employ, or the physical, human to human interaction is gradually reducing, if not completely. We are seeing the way how AI agents are taking up, and agent to agent commerce is starting up. And we are seeing a lot of technology, taking the front seat. What is the human role here, and what do you think as a leader? How do you see humans evolve in this entire
that is a big topic. So I don't know how much time we have, because this is a very big topic, and the one I'm very passionate about, because at the end of the day, it's all about humans. It's all about us. It's all about relationship. It's all about experiences. Customers today don't buy a product; they buy an experience, and they want that experience that gratification of that experience almost immediately. And so it's very interesting, because we went from a world where we were not that connected, but we were very human. We were actually not digitally connected, but we were very connected as families, as groups, as societies, but there were less opportunity, let's say, to do more wider connections. And then we went through the whole digitalization in the last, let's say, 30 years, and we become, funny enough, and more connected, but less and less humanly connected, So a lot of things have been replaced by processes, and when we think about it, most of digital processes are very sequential. Even the adoption of technology has been always very sequential. You have the early adopters, you have and obviously on the opposite side you have the laggards, and then you have the mass market. But it's always been throwing a curve like this, and then one after the other. And processes are also simplified with digital, but with AI now, I think it creates a pretty big challenge, and I'll tell you why. It's not about technology anymore, and people get this confused very much. I mean, my own opinion is that we're going back in a way to a point where we were before the digitalization. So before, everything was digital. I'm from a generation that actually I'm not a digital native, so I had to I had to acquire that. And I remember when I was at school, I had a blank sheet of paper and a pencil, and there was no framework. There was nothing given to me to actually create something. So I had to teach myself or be taught about how to do those things. I think we went through that digital journey where things fell into place, and it helped a lot. But now we're at a phase where we have to redefine a lot of things. So why am I saying this? Is because AI is not a tool. It's not. I mean, it is a tool. But it is a tool that, if you use well, will augment you as a human. If you don't use it, then you might be you might be less relevant to some things. So I would actually argue that AI will make us more human.
Okay.
But we need to use it in the right way. So it make us more human in the sense that those tasks that were done digitally before will be replaced by AI. So you don't need to do those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things.
Right.
This AI will do it, and will do it like this in the blink of an instant. But then what do you do? And how do you prompt the AI to do the right thing? So you have to move yourself from a task-based sequential way of thinking to an outcome way of thinking.
Right.
So you go back to that blank sheet of paper.
Right.
What is my outcome? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to get to? Okay. Once you frame that now, and you relearn or unlearn and relearn those things, and then, okay, how do I frame this? How do I get there? How do I prompt this? This is where AI will become your companion, and this is where it will augment us, everywhere. And I think, that's the major challenge, because once you use that, you will have to become more human. We were talking about brand earlier. If AI, yes, can do a lot of things in terms of delivering, more velocity and more content out there, and then, as I said, in a faster way. But what's going to make that difference? It's that, that level of creativity, human touch, empathy. And so we will need to become more human. Hopefully, I want to be optimistic, because otherwise, it could be a very bad episode of Black Mirror. I don't want to go there. I don't want to go into a dystopian environment. I prefer to think, okay, with that, we have a fantastic opportunity to actually free up a lot of our humanity out of this. But it needs to be done in a thoughtful manner.
So, considering that AI is going to make us more humane, that the kind of activities that we are doing on a daily job, probably it will evolve, and the roles will change. Probably, let's say you consider a bank or a telecom or any other industry, the kind of job roles are going to evolve. And because for that, do you really think the market or the institutions out there, are they really preparing people who are ready to address this? Because the transformation is so fast that organizations are feeling it difficult to pace up.
It is very fast, because this is not a digital transformation. It's a transformation. Okay. And it is a transformation when you think about it, is actually transform literally everything. So there are tasks or things that we used to do that will be replaced. And I think, if you think about marketing, specifically, I know that this is our audience, our more marketing marketers out there. Specifically in tech, and actually everything outside of FMCG. FMCG is still very well structured environment. Okay, and marketing is very important, because it drives sales, it drives retail revenue, it drives all of this. So the category, the brands, all of that is very important to build that. So, the Cokes and Nestle's and others. So that even though there's a lot of digital that come into play, it's still very big, strong foundations.
Yeah.
Where what I'm getting to is that apart from this world, from my perspective, in the last 20 years, we've been in marketing, we've been going down a road of specialization. So each of us have to specialize in something. You become a brand person, you become a PR, or comms, or you go into performance marketing or product marketing. Actually, very few in product marketing, but all across those things. But now with AI and all these new types of everything that comes into play now, you need to become again an all-rounded marketer.
Right.
And so I need to know brand, I need to know performance, I need to know data, I need to know technology, I need to know comms, I need to be able to tell a story. We're at the end of the day, we're storytellers. If you cannot tell a story and can only analyze data, then you have a bit of shortcomings here. The same, conversely, if you're a brand and you don't do data, then it's hard. So I think it will force us to completely reinvent ourselves. But this will be a personal journey first. I think expecting a business or to train you the way they used to be trained before, I think it's with the pace of change, I think it's not realistic to think that way. But this is also transformation that's happening in your personal lives. It's not just learning Excel or Word or let's say a new software. This is about how you integrate that into your life.
Right.
The same that the internet was at the beginning, but the pace of change is much, much faster. Things that you see that was like only 6 months ago, and then now what it is, it's changed phenomenally. And what you can do as well is quite astounding. So yeah, I mean, it has to be a personal investment first,
right?
And you need to embrace it.
Right.
And not be afraid of it.
So I'm able to correlate with what you said earlier, right? Like AI is going to make us more human, where you are going to go back to the paper and pen, which is actually true. Like, for example, as you said, probably 10, 20 years back, for a company, there was one marketing manager who was responsible for almost everything that is related to he or she will have a team, but there were no different kinds of roles. So with internet technology and now AI, today, like let's say in the market, you have a brand marketer, a performance marketer, a graphic designer, an analytics person. There are like other 20, 30 different kind of roles. Now AI is kind of putting it all together. You have to do designing as well because you have different kinds of tools. Now you can actually create a better creative idea because you have so many tools in your hand. So it is kind of summarizing everything, and like just now one person can be an all-rounder in doing all of it, and each one will be expected to drive result rather than just working on a specific KPIs. So
but it's very challenging because if you've done well, then as individuals and consumers, we should be on the winning side. Okay.
Right.
But if done well with the right purpose, okay. If it's to do more, I'm more pessimistic there because I think we'll commoditize things, we'll templatize things, and the attention span of I don't know if people remember that in the 1990s, if I'm correct, I think the attention span was about 20 minutes. So that's quite a lot when you think about it. 2000, I think that went down to 8 minutes. I remember there was this kind of a CNN thing, every 8 minutes there was a commercial break. Now it went down to 3 minutes. You know what the attention span is today?
5 seconds?
Is 8 seconds.
Okay.
For people of my generation or just the next generation. For alphas today is about 3 seconds.
3 seconds.
So when you think that you're going to have more things out there with more offers, more products, more propositions, more services, but with an attention span of 3 seconds every single time, where are we going, with this? So I want to think that what we with AI and everything that we're seeing, and Gen AI mostly, there's an opportunity to completely redefine this. Redefine this paradigm, because is it just for wanting more? And wanting more means what? We create more data centers and more stuff, and more for what? Or okay, now let's see, we have opportunity to redefine a few things. That, as you correctly said, this job could be done there by an agent, but that means that that frees up to do that. But again, I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a bit messy, because things are not going to move, right like this. But we will eventually find our place, and it will free up some opportunities for doing other things. But again, it comes back to that individual investment. So we've been in the marketing profession, specifically, as I said, outside of FMCG, we're kind of driven to specialization. But now, we're all brand marketings. We're all performance. If you don't think about performance, you don't think about commercials, and you don't think about what is the end game of marketing. Marketing is about is a business function. It's not a simple function. It's a business function. And it drives consumer behaviors. It drives revenues. Whether it's directly or indirectly. And so if you're not thinking about the commercials, then you're missing out. If you're not thinking about the brand love, then you're missing out. If you don't think about the types of product, then you're missing out again. So yes, we will have to become all of that, but you need to train yourself, and you open your mind again back to that, and then not stick to a box or to a specialty. And I think that's quite a challenge. Even myself, I need to, push my boundaries more. But this is where we learn. I always tell myself, if you think that if it's hard, if there's resistance, it means that you're learning, and you need to invest more.
So, considering professionals like you, sitting on the top of the ladder, and you are able to see the market in a very larger lens, and you understand how the market is evolving and what kind of people, qualities and attributes you need in your team. So I'm quite sure you have certain set of expectations in what kind of team members I want in my team, irrespective of let's say whether it's banking or telecom or any industry. And I also interact with a lot of students who are just graduating, and they are doing internships in my company, so they have a different set of they are kind of clueless, because I have studied so much, I have spent so much time in my college, graduation. So now, am I relevant? So what do you see in the employees, even now, whether it's a fresher or somebody who is climbing up the ladder in the last 5 years, 10 years? So what kind of attributes do you still see very valid and very important, irrespective of the technologies that are?
So I think it's going back to the fundamentals. Is you need to be curious. That's number one for me. If you're curious about if you have curiosity, then this is number one, because basically you want to learn. You want to learn, and you're curious about things. You want to understand new things, whether it's completely new or not. But curiosity is number one. I think the level of agility is and being nimble and agile. I think it's very important, because we move from a world of IQ to EQ to AQ. Sorry, everybody was talking about IQ, intelligence quotient, which means absolutely nothing, because obviously all of us, from our backgrounds and the way we think, we would score differently. So this is just one way of just putting people in a box and say whether you're intelligent or not. So IQ is out of the picture. Then you move into EQ, emotional quotient, which is very important. Because again, we're back to human relationships. Everything is about human relationships. If you cannot manage transform an area that keeps transforming, and you don't manage ambiguity well, then or stakeholder management, this is hard. So having that right balance in EQ and that awareness, insight is super important. But AQ, adaptability quotient.
Adaptability quotient.
So the world is changing so fast. A lot of jobs that we know today will be gone, but they will create new jobs, and I think we'll create new jobs very fast. We won't know what those new jobs are. It will take shape at some in their time, but the next generation would need to be incredibly adaptable. And adaptable in the way they see life, the way they see work, the way they see business and entrepreneurship and so on, because it's not linear anymore. It's not like I'm going to build a business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, because you have a customer base that also is a lot more fluid. It moves everywhere. If you're marketing right now to Gen Alpha or even to the generation that's going to come later, they're completely different. Gen Zs, millennials, Gen Zs, and Gen Alpha are completely different, which is not that much. Boomers, you would say boomers and Gen X were different, but relatively not that much, compared to the difference between millennials, Gen Zs, and Gen Alphas. Gen Alphas, gratification of work, or even Gen Zs, it's I don't like to stereotype too much, but there are some patterns. Why should I work here? What do I get out of this? Why should I have loyalty with one company? What is my gratification? How do my work-life balance? What are the things I want to learn? So I think it creates for a lot of organizations some challenges to see how. But the fundamentals are for me to be able to, obviously, curiosity, agility, ethics, because I think we're going to move to a world where ethics will be challenged, and we need to stay clear on what are really our strong values and ethics. So you have all three, then everything else can be learned.
Adaptability quotient is something I feel a lot of people should look up to. I think that's a very good point that you have mentioned. So in terms of this adaptability, again, like the space around you is changing so fast that puts you in a place like you actually need to adapt faster. That's not just for the individuals, but also for the institutions, the government, and the kind of policies and regulations that you have to do. So how do you see this? Because predominantly a lot of growing companies, developing countries are not heavily regulated, but there are some parts of the world which are heavily regulating a lot of things that are coming up. So how do you see innovation and regulation going hand in hand?
Actually, it's a very good question, because I think most people think that regulation is actually stifling innovation. I feel actually the opposite. In financial services, funny enough, regulation actually helps a lot. Financial services, I think it's helped open up the financial services ecosystem to third parties. Is actually help to create new types of proposition, new types of products, new types of services. The whole digital payments would have not taken off the way it has without regulation. If you look at embedded finance or open finance, open banking, ability to create new financial services across, with non-banking financial institutions, or embed banking in financial platforms within other types of businesses, it creates a huge amount of opportunity, and then also opportunity for financial inclusion, for serving the providing financial services for underserved and banked and so on. But also, if you look at data protection, regulation for data protection has helped a lot to protect the consumers, to make sure that their information is safe, and then against any fraud or scams, and then feel that there's some clear boundaries. And then in some markets, I used to work in the UK. You would have actually the regulator being an active player of innovation. So working with financial partners within the ecosystem to actually create new proposition, to test new proposition. They would even create a tech stack and an infrastructure with sandbox, where you actually can experiment on. And I think this is the role now of the regulator have evolved massively. And I think you see it here as well. The regulators in this country and then in the region are very progressive. They have a vision. They want to enable it, but they want to enable it in a controlled, structured, and secure way for everybody, for businesses and for individuals. I think where regulation it has more the negative connotation is when regulation is too slow to adapt to a change, and then this is where we have this mismatch in terms of sequencing. You have a product that come out, a solution that come out, that's creating some issues, but the regulation is not fast enough to mitigate those issues. And I think this is where you have this gap in terms of implementation of that regulation that makes it makes this level of frictions. Another example, when you look into here the UAE. It's the regulation actually that drives more of these services, and the leadership vision to drive more of these services to be digitized, to be controlled, to be delivered in a safe manner. Today, if you open your business from abroad, or you want to create a new business here, you can go to any of these free zones, and you can create your business in a very short amount of time. Get a bank account as well, and get everything set up very quickly. Mm-hmm. And the regulators see the end-to-end view of experience. We've worked very closely with multiple regulators here to deliver new types of solutions that will generate customer value. So I always see regulation as a good thing, because in a world that is unregulated, what ends up happening is that the consumer at the end of the day suffers, because
right.
There's always something that happens. You're not protected. There's losses and things like that. So at the end of the day, the consumer or the end user must be protected.
Definitely, from what I hear from you, regulation is kind of empowering innovation on one side, and certain smarter governments and companies are adapting and developing on top of it. But I also see, let's say, I want your perspective on a country in country like India, where again the population is so large, and it's not just like one. Let's say cannot be compared with a place like Dubai or UAE, because it's relatively small and it's very diverse. Like India is more like Europe, and you have different kinds of.
Well, it's bigger than Europe.
Bigger than Europe, and you have different types of people, different types of consumers.
Yeah.
And they are also there. They also, let's say, you must have known about the UPI, the kind of growth that UPI was able to achieve. So because from that lens, I am trying to see, because comparing the kind of ease that UAE government was able to achieve in terms of setting up a business, whereas a country like India is also aspirational, and they are trying to innovate for the larger market. So what do you see, what kind of things that developing countries can learn from some of the grown countries on how they can adapt to a diverse market, based on your experience, if you want to give some perspective?
I think all countries have their own journey, because the one point of regulation that is important, that I want to also make it, if you have a regulation that wants to go against the flow, it's never going to work. You can't resist change. I mean, it's just human nature. And it's happening throughout centuries. When the steam engine came, when even things, innovation earlier, it's changing. So if a regulation happened just to stop things, it's never going to work. Okay, it's never going to work. So it's more about, okay, how do I guide and create the right safeguards to make sure that again, the individual is protected and businesses are protected. So to your point now on different countries and models, India it's beyond vast. I mean, we're 1.3 billion people. How many languages you have?
Yeah, that's uncountable. Like, we ourselves don't know, because there are around 30 plus official languages there. Apart from that, there are different dialects
Yeah.
of each language. So there are.
So level of complexity is massive. And it's hard to see to find any parallels to that, because I think, all of the countries. I mean, I hate to say developing countries. I think because it's a benchmark versus others. I think it's more about their development journey. Okay, because you're going through a development journey that is your own. Obviously, there are influences from abroad, but it's each country is going through their own development journey. The development journey of this country, the UAE, it's his own. He has a vision. He knows where he wants to go, and enables that. And I think the countries in development, going through their journey, have a huge path in front of them, and great opportunities to do that. I think in other regions, it's actually the opposite side. How do you keep that level of growth? And I think this is more philosophical and more a question of economics. But if you are always into a GDP growth environment, obviously, if you're in a nation that is in development or in that journey of development, your GDP growth is going to be big, and then grow. And hopefully that level of wealth and you create from that growth is equally distributed across the country, and so everybody benefit. So that's the journey. But other nations are on a journey of actually a very, very, very shallow growth or no growth at all, or below, or being in recession. So it offers a different path to them. So all of these are very different type of issues, and I think going back to the technology infrastructure change today favor more the countries on that journey of development, because they have a lot of you need to create the infrastructure, you have the labor force, the education follows as well. India has a high level of education, it's rising every day. So the opportunities for growth are massive.
Right.
For other countries where, let's say, from the old world, let's put it that way, or it's much more complex path. So it's a different journey, is looking at how you combine your forces into one block, like the European Union is a one block, or what you see in some other areas where they want to create that union, at least on trade. So it's a very interesting question, and earlier I studied economics when I was in college, and then I love that because you can see those migration flows, the transaction flows. You see the old Silk Route between East and West. But we're going back to that now. I think there's a massive shift to Asia, and even Central Asia.
Mm-hmm.
I think India, the subcontinent, and is really at the center of all of that.
Right.
So I think the future bears well, but there's going to be a lot of change. I don't know if I answered fully your question.
Yeah, I believe as an entrepreneur that one set of regulations is not going to be valid for every set of crowd that is there. Like, the regulations, while it needs to actually be there, but it has to facilitate innovation, and it has to constantly evolve.
There's two things here. The first one, I was coming back to the vision. And in this part of the world, here in the GCC countries, I mean, what they've done really in a very smart way is sharing that vision, and then sharing that vision with the private sector. So they've done all the PPP public-private partnerships are delivering a humongous amount of value, because what you do is basically you create an ecosystem, you connect all the dots, you're enabling the government official to work with a business, to work with an infrastructure provider. You basically put the right people in the room and then create a solution. And then so you build new things, you create new fabric to your, you weave new fabric to your own society, which I think is incredibly valuable. And then they're very smart about that. And you can see it also in Singapore. You go to Singapore, they have this very close relationship between business and government. But that is again against the vision of the country. So where is your North Star? Where do you want to be? That your aspiration. I think that's incredibly energizing to think, okay, I'm going to go there, and this is the path, and then I'm going to work with you to get there. When you think about the UAE, I mean, you went from only 54 years old now, but we're in an area where there's absolutely nothing. Okay, Dubai, contrary to what people think, Dubai has no oil.
Does not have oil, yeah.
And then it's probably the most barren land you can get out of the UAE.
Right.
No oil, no rivers, nothing. I mean, there's nothing here. But you have a clear vision. You have an enablement of that vision. You have the capital that came in, and then the setup, the regulation. It creates a safe zone to operate. And when you build all of that, then people will come because they will want to contribute to that, because they subscribe to the idea, they subscribe to the direction, and then they want to contribute, and obviously they want something back in return, but they want to contribute. So I think all of that creates a fantastic partnership for the future, and also involves the businesses to also think, what is the best way to create those communities? How is the best way to do those things? And not just in a very fragmented way. So yeah, I mean, when you go into larger, much more complex societies like India, I don't know India well, but then the challenge is even bigger. So when sometimes the challenge is so big, you need to break it down to smaller chunks, or to more local type of, initiatives. When you look at the US, a lot of things were happening on the local, from the local environment, and then scaled to national, to federal level, and that really developed. California on its own is, if they were to ever secede from the US, they will be the 6th largest economy in the world. So there's stuff that happened there, then and scaled quite well. So again, regulation can now go against something. It has to be part of. So I think the lessons that we can learn from areas like Singapore or this region here, is that when you trust each other, you put the framework together, you have a clear vision, and you work towards it, then everybody wins.
Right. So I was about to ask about the public-private partnership. That is, one of the. I also see that as one of the major reasons of this fast growth that happened in the last few decades in a place like UAE, and exactly the way Singapore was also again a very similar profile.
Yeah.
It was just a island, and now if you see, they are one of the top countries in the entire world. So
it's worse for Singapore. They were rejected by Malaysia.
Yes, exactly. So Singapore is a island that thrown away from a country like Malaysia, and now they are setting standards to a different level. And that's where, I mean, I think the Prime Minister, I think Lee Kuan is the person who was the founder of, the first Prime Minister of Singapore. I read about him, a country which was left out by a larger nation, but in a span of 3 to 4 decades, the kind of growth that they were able to achieve is unimaginable. And I curiously look towards things like that, and especially also the story of for me, story of Dubai and story of Singapore is more or less very, there are a lot of similarities, and but I see us as a foundation, this partnership along with the private companies, and how they empower the private companies to come and innovate, and the space has been given, and the trust part which you have said, I feel is a very integral part of this.
The trust and enablement part as well, because you could have the greatest vision, you could have you can have all the capital that come in, you could have the smartest people, but if you don't enable that, again, with the right guidelines, the right framework, the right regulation, then nothing of this will happen. Because you could say, okay, this looks great today, but then something changes, and then tomorrow doesn't look that great. So it creates a lot of uncertainty, and then investment doesn't like uncertainty. We want to be sure where we put our eggs and make sure that this will hatch.
So when you actually letting multiple different brains to come in, like let's say different companies to come in, collaborate with the governments, and do you think that's where the innovation is actually faster? Because I also see in your profile, like there are a lot of innovative products that the companies that you have associated with been able to launch, and when you compare it with the competitors, and you were one step ahead, in terms of the journey. So what does it?
Sometimes I was actually a few steps ahead. But actually way too ahead. So I was. It was a kind of a fun, running joke that I had in my earlier career, actually all the way up to very recently. I always launched things way too early. So I've launched. I was talking to a friend about this just about a day ago. I launched the first music streaming business platform, but we were dial-up back then, and we used micropayment using phones. Okay, didn't succeed. Then we got into online gaming again before broadband, so didn't succeed.
Okay.
Then when I was at Skype, we had an idea in the morning, and then by noon we were looking, okay, what does it look like? By 6 p.m. we had a business plan. The next day we launched. Pretty much like that. I hardly exaggerate. Some of them stick, but the majority didn't stick, and we failed. And so I was always like a few years ahead. But it's taught me a very valuable lesson, because it's all about having the greatest idea is not enough until you know exactly when to launch this, and how you can go to scale very quickly. And so I learned a lot in experimenting and then failing and finding, but I wouldn't have actually come to that conclusion without the lessons of these failures. I mean, they were not that major. I mean, they were not incredible failures, but they were learnings, very important learnings. Because when I was at Visa, we were very few. Most people don't know, but contactless is actually a Visa technology. It's licensed to others, but it's a Visa technology. We've been having contactless for a long time, and wallets. We had wallets for a long time before anybody else. Actually, we were working on multiple wallets ourselves, and then when Apple Pay came. Technically, there's nothing revolutionary about Apple Pay. Absolutely nothing. Okay, actually, most of it is powered by others. But they were smart in doing three things. The first one, they waited that all contactless penetration was at a critical mass. Mm-hmm. That was number one. And so, which means that the acceptance network was there, the habits were there. And then in London, when TfL you started to use the underground, we use your card or debit card, credit card. That was kind of already you're getting into everybody's behavior. So contactless was there. Then second, they saw that the mobile penetration was there, and there were a lot more mobile shopping happening rather than online shopping. So when mobile shopping was actually going higher than online shopping, and they say, okay, that's the second good thing. And then they waited to a point where the banks were to a point where they were all very cautious about disintermediation. And the big ugly scare for the banks was PayPal.
PayPal, yeah.
Disintermediation, because everybody's focused on on e-commerce, because e-commerce is a big chunk of growth for in that sector. But then when he said, "Well, go with us because you'll have no fear of PayPal. We have all of this. Your cards are loaded on our wallet. We will ride on your acceptance network, whether you are Visa or others. You will ride on your acceptance network, and then we just do a revenue share." But when you look at the mechanics of the revenue share, obviously Apple Pay is winning a lot on that.
I think it's majorly because of their interface and the user friendliness that they brought in.
It's not that. Yeah, but it's not a revolutionary.
Yeah, it's not a revolutionary.
It's not revolutionary. It's convenient, it is convenient because all of these things happened before.
Yeah.
If they had launched, like you guys, I mean, I don't know if you remember, we had a Google Pay. No, before Google Pay, there was actually another one, Android Pay. No, there was Google Pay, and then it became Android Pay. It launched too early, so where things were not, aligned, so it didn't scale. So timing is incredibly important.
Right.
Timing and then understanding of the market is incredibly important. So I think now the ones that are really succeeding at that scale, global scale, are the ones that understand when the market is mature enough and all the foundations are there to launch.
So you have seen the different eras of this digitization. Like let's say you were mentioning about the dial-ups and broadband, and now you have seen like the high-speed internet, 5G, and now we are in Gen AI, where we have much more like people are investing and all larger companies are investing in data centers and stuff. So I feel you have seen this entire journey, and you have also seen how people have enabled these new tech to commercialize and come up with new products over a period of time. Let's say when internet came in, like the entire era of booking.com and everything online we were able to do. So and then now slowly now commerce is integrated within ChatGPT, and people are like now the Google search and then now ChatGPT search, and now we are in a place, especially in the financial side, where this agent to agent commerce is happening. So Visa has recently launched it, I saw, where the product is where your agent goes to shopping on behalf of you, and they're gonna do it, and you have to just give your authentication. So people who have seen it earlier, they have built products around it and they have won the market. That was like one part of the question I wanted to ask. And another part of my question was, you have also been in one of such companies, which is again, Visa was one. Another, Skype was definitely the earliest company that kind of built on the online video calling and chat. But the rise and fall of Skype also happened like over a period of time. So I want to share. I want to hear from you. What do you think of this?
This is where we're going back to the earlier question about the transformation. Okay, and this is fundamental, and this is my personal opinion now. What we're seeing in terms of Gen AI and the next generation of Gen AI actually will completely, I believe, and again, personal opinion, that fundamentally will change everything we do. Okay, and why am I saying this? Is because everything we did in our digitization journey was to make things easier, more convenient, and in some way a bit safer, but for us to consume more. Okay, so e-commerce was easy when shipment was done, and we had that trust. It's easier to shop online than going to the store. So there's the shift from brick mortar to online. And what happened then? The whole advertising went into online, into digital, and then into data, into performance marketing, and then getting us to do everything on our phones and on our tablets, and actually less and less on our PCs, mostly on our phones and tablets. Okay, but then it's targeted and is done all of these things, great. But to consume more and more and more, okay, great. But now advertising money is going against that. but it's harder to have a return on your buck on that advertising money because again, it's incredibly fragmented. The getting the share of the eyeball is really, really hard. So we go down into the data. So we're smarter. We have heat maps. We know exactly what people do and all that. Now you throw in AI. AI will learn. We'll learn about all your habits. So we'll do step one, sell you more things, in a better way or a quicker way. I don't know if you guys know Shein. I don't shop there, but
Shein, yeah.
There's about, I think what I've heard, and don't quote me, actually I'm on a podcast, but multiple AI agents actually tracking anything you do. So they can learn about you and then they'll push things to you. Yeah. So moving forward to this, okay, where do we put our advertising money? If everything is already tracked and everybody knows anything about me and can hyper-personalize something to me, why would I need advertising? And then, I don't want to shoot the marketing community for that, but where it raises a question. Second, if the buying process is not done by a human anymore, who am I advertising to?
Agents are not going to listen to the ads, or they are not going to be influenced by the ads.
No, and thirdly, if now agents are buying from agents, then what's the point? What's the point of everything we do? So this is very existential, but then we come back, okay, what are the client experiences we want to generate? What are the differentiating experiences that we want to create? And it sounds a bit like magic today, but we're going to get there. We'll have to get there because I can see right now already agents to agents buying stuff. I think you'll see it more and more on the B2B side. I would say, I have a friend and an old colleague of mine who's created an AI for procurement, for large, renewal of, I don't know, stationery or managing a fleet of cars or negotiation is automated. It's a small, if you look at it becomes very sophisticated, but it's just a few prompts and then the agent negotiates with a human.
Right.
So the human is already at a disadvantage because the agent will negotiate really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's no emotional bond. There's nothing. It's just value. You want a procurement or a transaction, here you go. That's a procurement transaction now. And now you're on the flip side of this is hard now. And then you'll have agent to agent negotiating. And then I was shown by an agency, I think it was back in Europe, that created for an airline business, for an airline company, so both sides of the campaign. They created the campaign with using agents. So it's literally, this is the campaign. You could see multiple agents assigning roles to each other. You're going to be the copywriter. I'll be the graphic designer. I will prepare the CRM. I will do the design. I will orchestrate the whole thing. I will oversee everything. So it's done, delivered. Okay, what's the role for marketing there? Well, hopefully we're smart enough to say, I want all of this, and I will make sure that this is the best campaign you ever seen in your life. And then on the flip side of that, on the delivery side for the customer, then if you're a customer, let's say I want to go to Hamburg in Germany, you type, and then there's agents in the back end say, okay, I recognize this customer because this person came. He's also a frequent flyer. I'm going to provide something specific. We know that he has 2 daughters and he has, his wife and all of that. I know he works there. I know he likes wine. So they will create something completely curated to you.
Right.
Completely curated. And then you'll see in the back end, all the agents talking to each other. You say, oh, I'll book the car, or I'll book the hotel, or I'll book the transportation from the hotel, from the airport to the hotel. I'll book the best restaurant. I'll book that. I'll book the entertainment for the kids. So what's the role of, where do we put our advertising money now? So it raises a lot of questions about the new types of behaviors that we're going to create, and very, very soon. And I don't fully understand it, and I don't think I ever will. But I think the next generation will be born with it, and hopefully they will know how to use it. But it raises quite a few fundamentals for us, what is our job? What is the value we bring? Again, we're a business function. We're not a support function. So how do we bring value to the organization we work for?
So staying relevant also like is very important. That's why I wanted to know about the story of Skype. Like
Yeah.
why did they move out of the limelight?
So Skype is a very, I mean, it's a really a shame that Skype is dead, officially dead. It's only died a few months ago now. It was announced by Microsoft. Skype is a fantastic journey because when you think about it, it came from peer-to-peer, from Kazaa. I don't know, most of you don't remember what Kazaa was a streaming of, not streaming, it was actually a MP3 exchange platform of music. So it created you scale incredibly fast, but it created a lot of problems, obviously, with with music rights and so on. But then that technology was put on voice and voice over IP. And the revolutionary thing about Skype is that it needed no servers. It was a peer-to-peer network. So it was using your computer, my computer, everybody's computer to relay a voice or a message communication. That's it. It was a software. So we were never a telecom. We were just a software using peer-to-peer network and scaled to 1 billion users. So we went it very quickly, scaled very fast. But it's an interesting one because we scaled very fast, but we were not looking at monetizing this. So we launched a few products to monetize that, but we realized that consumers were only using it mostly for free. There was a very deep emotional connection with Skype because actually it was intrinsic to our value proposition and also how our users were using Skype for human relationships because we're the first one to connect people for free anywhere in the world. The world, and then
much ahead of Facebook. WhatsApp.
I was part of the team who launched the first video conference product platform for Skype. We're not very good at marketing, but then we called it group video calling, which is not the fanciest name ever. But we were the first one to have a video call with nine parties and great video quality, and again peer-to-peer, so no bandwidth issues. We don't pay servers. So what happened is that when we got acquired, obviously by Microsoft, then the model had to change because Microsoft is infrastructure, is hardware, and then to be fair as well, they needed to integrate it into much bigger scale. So they needed to integrate it into Teams today. So a lot of things happen, in terms of redesigning the whole product. But peer-to-peer network cannot working under a Microsoft environment. So it had to be servers and mainframes and so on. So that transition, I think, probably was the first blow to Skype. The second is that I think missed a few opportunities, and then the major one was COVID. Zoom took off when
really took off.
When Skype actually had the edge, and even in terms of brand, I mean, Skype became a word. I mean, it became a verb in the US.
Totally. Even if you're Zooming, people would say Skype.
Skype you, yeah. I mean, it became it was so popular. I mean, I remember we had Oprah Winfrey chatting, we had celebrities calling us just on Skype all the time, And then we missed that window. I mean, I say we, but I wasn't there anymore, but Skype missed that window. And I think, gradually was either integrated into the Microsoft environment. I think all of the Skype for Business, most of the Skype for Business part are now in Teams. And the rest just died, unfortunately. So it is one of those things when you see this was a great innovation, scaled fast, rapidly, went on mobile because we had Skype mobile as well, and then just gradually died.
Right. So as a marketer and somebody who has worked in different industries, like let's say anybody watching this podcast, marketers, business owners, brand owners, how to stay relevant and probably stay relevant for years together, because Skype is again a mostly loud product, but at some point they had to shut their doors. So what is very important as a marketer according to you to constantly keep evolving, and how does it possible for a business owner or even a marketer, like while they're focusing on campaigns, certain metrics, KPIs, staying relevant is itself a big challenge. So probably that would be like a summary question I wanted to
on the
ask.
personal level, always stay curious and hungry and foolish, because you need to be curious about things and always want to learn. Hungry because you need to have that hunger. That's what differentiates you from others. And foolish because you need to be thinking about new ideas. You need to be thinking about. You need to be a bit creative. You need to challenge the status quo. You need to think about new things, because that's the beauty of being marketing. We have lateral thinking. We are able to operate in multiple different environments and so on. I think in terms of professionally now, we need to be much more literate about financials. I think this is something that where we do ourselves a disservice. We think that people understand marketing. Most people don't understand marketing. Most people don't know what we do, and most people don't care. They think that this is just a gimmick, or this is salespeople disguised, and it's not. So going back to financials is that we need to be incredibly close to the business, understand the financial metrics, and understand the CFOs. Work really closely with finance and CFOs, so they understand the value you bring. The CEOs also understand the value marketing brings and why brand is important. And finally, I would say, unfortunately, we have way too many metrics, marketing metrics today ourselves, and then that gives, personally, I think, a disservice to us, because we get measured with metrics we don't really own, whether it's ROI, whether it's VTR, CTA, all of these things. We've created so many metrics across in the last 15, 20 years, and when you really think about it, we don't own most of them.
All of them are rented.
So I tried to talk less and less about ROI, because then you get some ROI makes no sense. You have huge amount of return for very little spend, but then huge amount of of spend for very little return. So it makes no sense, and it's very hard, because if we need to have all of this together, because otherwise, there was Rory, the guy from I think WP. I always forget names. I think it was Rory Gallagher, and he said, when you talk to an architect or an engineer, you don't come to them in a day and they said, I'm quoting him, what value have you brought today? You never said that to an engineer or to an architect, because it's a long-term job, right?
Right.
But we get asked that almost every day. What value have you brought today as marketing? You haven't provided any value. Yeah. So we scram and we try to find value. We're trying to demonstrate that we do a fantastic job, and we do a fantastic job. True. We have probably the best job in the world, but also we have one of the most complicated job in the world, because we want to please, but we think we're people around us because we're so close to the customer. But most people don't understand what marketing is.
Yeah.
And they don't care.
Most of the things are intangible, and marketers constantly keep chasing, that sometimes bring in the internal question also, am I doing the right thing? Am I actually adding value, or am I just doing? So that, I think when people ask you questions like that, like you kind of go into that mode of
Exactly. And look, whenever you have that doubt, and I keep myself that, and said, what would the customer want? And that's go back to the customer. If you don't know what the customer want, and then also remembering that as a first rule of marketing, we are not our own target. So what pleases us may not be relevant to the customer.
So as a conclusion, I really want to ask this one question. With AI taking the front seat, and a lot of marketers, as we again discussed, they are kind of feeling unsafe about their job roles, and of course their things are evolving, and a lot of people are adapting to it and faster, but a large chunk of population, even larger agencies, networks, their valuations are going down.
Yep.
And they are trying to adapt to the situation and trying to build products, build additional services.
Yep.
Because ChatGPT is new, or AI is new for even a small team, as well as like somebody like a billion-dollar company as well.
Yeah.
So since the space is evolving fast, what do you think is the future of marketing, or marketers are going to be?
Yeah.
Are we going to be completely replaced by a bunch of agents, or how our future is going to look like?
So I mean, this is the question. Okay. So first of all, AI is not new.
Yeah.
Okay, AI is not new. Let's remember that it's 20 plus years old. But what is new is that the application now are coming to the market, and the level of sophistication is to a level that is now quite quite impressive, and I think is gonna go even further. The application of AI in marketing is a small thing compared to what you see, what the potential of AI in other industries, other verticals, healthcare, and then or anything in transportation. There's so many applications that create a lot of value. But going back to marketing, I think what is the future of marketing is two things. The first one, need to go back to the fundamentals. So what is our job? What is our marketing? We are here to create value and we're in the business of creating value and customer experiences, okay? And that will deliver a commercial outcome. If we have that clear, then everything around it will support that. So why do I need to do that? I need to know, I need to do brand. I need to do all of these things. I need to make my brand the most lovable brand, I need to develop the right solutions or take the right solutions to market and so forth. So once we do that, then and we are able to risk ourselves in terms of I want to learn all of these different areas that I may not be fully comfortable with, then we have a future, okay? Because I remain convinced that marketing is probably the best job ever. I always joke that everybody wants to do marketing. They don't want to do procurement, or nothing wrong with procurement or human resources, but these are tough jobs, or legal. But everybody thinks that marketing is fun.
Yeah.
And it is because we're the closest to the customer. Sales will be very close to the customer as well, but we are the most rounded because we understand and we have visibility exposure on so many areas of the business. But what we're tending to do is not to see ourselves as business function, and we see ourselves as a support function.
Yeah.
And I think in FMCG it is definitely a business function, but in many other industries it's becoming more and more of a support function. So that's where we feel under threat, because if we're a support function, then we're only cost based. We're a cost center rather than a profit center. And then every investment we make, again, the analogy of engineer, architect versus a marketing person is always there. So they look at us, what value did you bring today? Well, you don't ask the guy with the architect what value has he brought today, because obviously the building is not going to get designed in one day, or the bridge is not going to be built in one day, So that's where we have that fear. I think if we don't embrace AI and everything that's happening right now, and then free up our curiosity, this is where we are in danger. And I feel that if we're too task-based in our jobs, we need to really have a wake-up call and then and get on it, because that train has left the station already, and you need to catch that train, because the AI will not replace you, but someone with AI will. I mean, everybody's saying it, but someone with AI will, because it's augmented, and the ability to do other things will be much more accelerated versus what you can possibly do. So I think the future is bright. I think it's messy. But it's always been messy anyway for us. So I don't think that's going to change. I think we're up for a big adventure. The next generation, I think we need to train the next generation. I think there is an obligation for us to pass on the knowledge, and then to pass on that passion to the new generation, because they will have to reinvent what marketing is. I was saying if an agent buys between themselves, if they buy, or the agent does the shopping for you, or an RFP, if you're in B2B, your RFP is answered by an agent, and is also triggered by an agent. then what's our role? How do we create those experiences? Is brand going to be relevant? All of that stuff. So they will have to have that creative mind to reshape that activity of marketing, because I don't think it will disappear. I think that activity is always been there for centuries, and I don't think that will disappear. And as a plan B, I will always be nice to my Gen AI. I always say please, because whenever they take the world, hopefully they will spare me. You never know.
That's funny actually. But yeah, I mean, but Sam Altman said your please and like the extra words are burning the data centers and having more electricity consumption.
I know.
But yeah, humans are meant to be kind. I think that's how you have also been. So
yeah, let's hope so. Because otherwise, it would be not such a nice environment. But I remain optimistic. I think also there will be some non-AI that will, human beings as a level of resilience that I think is often underestimated. So I think even myself included, I've all of my career has been in technology. Even though I was in telecom and financial services, I've always been a tech guy, and I've always gone through, as you said, all the digital transformation. But right now in the stage of my career and my personal life, I couldn't care less about technology. It's not that relevant anymore. And I think people will care less and less because it's going to be more and more transparent. Today it's very transparent.
Right.
It's becoming more and more transparent, but it will be completely transparent. I think our kids or our kids' kids will use a voice recognition like we think today is Star Trek, but it's going to be there, or they want to go to a holodeck, it's there, But so I think all of that stuff will happen. But hopefully we're wise enough as I would say, as a species to put the right investment in the right things. Let's hope so.
Amazing. So one major takeaway for me personally and also for the audience would be is AI is actually enabling us to be more human, and it is going to increase the possibilities and the potential of the human capabilities is what I strongly believe, and that's what your ideology was also. It is all bringing us back to where we all started, and I think that's my powerful takeaway from here. Thank you so much, George, for this.
It was fun. I really appreciate it, and thank you again for having me today.
Thank you so much. Cheers.